Okay, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
So I will start the session. As I see, there are more than 100 participants. Anyway, so I should start the session. I think by the meantime, the rest of the participants may join. So I will share my slide now. Just wait. Let me share my PPT. So is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, now I got the full screen mode. So I think now it is visible to you for the full screen mode. Is it? Are you getting the full screen mode view?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So in this session, I will discuss on problem-based learning because nowadays that is a trend to learn or to use to discuss with this active learning. So we are, although we are generally using passive learning in our regular teaching learning system, particularly with the various kind of courses, but however, active learning may play a key role in order to develop the teaching learning process and in order to get the more effective way for teaching learning. So although I will discuss PBL, but before that I will spend 5 to 10 minutes on the introduction of active learning. Maybe some other speaker already introduced you with some active learning or the classification of learning, like say active learning, blended learning.
No.
But I will discuss first. Then I will go to the problem-based learning. That is the special type of active learning that we will discuss today. Now, the thing is that what is active learning? So here you are seeing a graph. So the two-dimensional graph, as you see, along x-axis, we are representing the time. Time is duration. And it's in minutes. MIN means minutes. And along the y-axis, that is a dependent axis, it's the retention, which is nothing but the retention of learning. So what we are plotting, or we are showing the plot here, duration versus retention of learning. Suppose I started the class, that means the time starts from here. And say this is my 1 hour class. So during the 1 hour, we'll see the retention versus time of the class in active learning for various kind of learning. So let's start. So first I will discuss the passive learning, that is called the lecture-based learning. That actually exactly what I am doing now. That is a lecture-based learning or passive learning, or we can say it's teacher-centric learning or tutor-centric learning. So whatever I am saying or I am showing, you are bound to digest. Very rarely you are discussing with me or you are interacting with me. And also very rarely you are discussing with yourself. That means all the learners, participants. That's why it's a passive learning, not teacher-centric learning. Not whatever we use in the traditional teaching learning system. So if you see here in the graph or curve, whatever may be, the retention rates are high once it starts, maybe say for first 10 to 20 minutes, but to our surprise, after 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, it certainly decreases and it behaves like a asymptotic behavior, and it reaches up to say 15 to 20% for the first 60 minutes. Maybe for the next 60 minutes, it kind of this like this. However, if you see the second curve, that is the curve for active learning, where you can see the retention rate is almost constant towards the learning hours, that is the first 1 hour or 60 minutes, and it's nearly 75 to 80% with the small oscillations. Now, from your neutral view, can you tell which one is the effective in context of teaching learning? Anybody? Which one is effective and how you feel why it is effective? Okay, I think somebody write in the chat box, Hemlata madam, active is effective. Obviously. So if I ask you the reason, obviously the retention rates are here high, the percentage are high, almost 70 to 80% throughout the learning hours. While for the active learning, although it starts with the same pace, but gradually it's down, and it's behaved like a asymptotic curve. Yes, Dr. Susumohan Chatterjee is typing. Right. To engage, right. To engage as well, keep the students creative learning. Yes. Good. Fine. Now let's move to the next slide. In order to illustrate the active learning, I will show you here one more pyramid. Although you are seeing the top of the pyramid, the bottom has some obstacle, and this obstacle is going to be removed after a few minutes. Suppose I am taking a class, and in this class, I just entered the class. I am a lazy teacher. So what I am giving, I am just sending a PDF notes or some hard copy notes to the learners and tell, so learners, for the next 1 hour during the class, you just go through it. In such cases, if I try to measure the retention rate, not now, after 15 days to 2 weeks, the statistics says that the retention rate may vary nearly 10%. Maybe say for some cases 8%, for some cases 12%, say for some cases 7%. So more or less average or the central tendency is 10%. I think you know what is central tendency. I should not explain it. It's a statistical word. So it's 10%. Now, instead of just giving a typical notes for the reading for the learners, if I give some words that what exactly I am doing now in my teaching learning process with you, the chances are that after 2 weeks, you will remember that the retention rate will almost 20%. Now, in addition to this, if I add some pictures that what I am showing, like say, instead of explaining the pyramids, I am showing the pyramids. That means the retention rate will be high even after 2 weeks. It's nearly 30%. It's not my version. It is copied from a paper for these 3 authors, Holt, Renat, and Winston. They have wrote a nice paper, probably in 1989 or 1891. I forget the year. You may check later, and they proved it. They show it, not proved, show it with some real experiment survey. Now, if I add some movie, some exhibitions, some demonstration, or other things, then the retention is almost 50%. So what we see, whatever we are adding and doing for our in our level based, all the parts of passive learning and the retention rate never cross 50%. That is the drawback of passive learning system that we are generally doing it. In order to overcome it, we must think on the active learning system, where you see in the active part, what we can do: participation in a discussions, giving a talk by the learners. So if you add these kind of things, it's 70% retention. Even you can go more than 70% by doing some dramatic presentations, simulations, and doing the real thing. You see, it's 90%. That's why the skill-based learning, it's kind of semi-active learning thing, kind of thing, so which is more effective compared to the typical, that is passive learning. Now there are various types of active learning depending on their explain, debate, brainstorm, discuss. This is a component of active learning, and you can see there the classifications of types. Learn by doing, inquiry-based learning, I think you heard the term. Cooperative learning, one thing is missing here, that is called project-based learning. I think some people already use this in their classes, project-based learning. And obviously the most effective one is called problem-based learning. Although in my view, project-based learning and problem-based learning are very much similar. However, we can say project-based learning is a subset of the problem-based learning. So problem-based learning is a superior thing. Now we should know what are the purpose of active learning. Just one thing, my microphone is showing low connection. Am I audible clearly? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Now we should know the purpose of active learning. Obviously, it's increase the student participations, because it's a student-centric learning, not teacher-centric learning. Engagement also it increases. Retention, I already mentioned in the graph, it's nearly more than 80 to 90%. And student may have take the ownership of this course because it's a student-centric learning compared to the passive learning, which is teacher-centric. And here the role of the teacher or the instructor is less, so less lecturing. It's better learning by doing by the students. And obviously more exciting classroom experience for the learners or the students. And obviously higher level thinking, since students are involved in the work by solving the problem or solving the project or some inquiry-based learning. So it's obviously higher level thinking. Otherwise, they can't solve it. Now I am just showing the schematic diagram of the traditional learning or passive learning and the problem-based learning. In traditional learning, what we do, the teacher or the tutor or the instructor told what we need to know. We means the learners or the students in the opposite side. And they should memorize it. They will memorize it. And ultimately, the problem assigned to be illustrated how to use it. Like, a kind of end chapter problem or examples. Some are end chapter problems, like exercise in our textbooks. And some are examples that is already done with the answers. So that is the part of traditional learning. That is, I think everybody already accustomed with this system. In problem-based learning, what happened? The tutor or the instructor, sometimes we call it facilitator, give the problem to the students in a group, various groups. That I will come in the problem later in the details. And students need to identify that. So this task is for the students, not for the learners, for the teachers, tutors. So the learners need to identify what they need to know for solving this problem that given by the instructor, and then subsequently learn and apply it, solve it, and ultimately they learn the thing. So that is the beauty of this problem-based learning. Now, if you see the traditional lecture, so teacher is sitting there and they are all students. you see in the traditional lecture, it's kind of teacher centric. So all are, you see both sides to the teachers. There are very few scopes that two participants or two learners can interact. Like for this class, I am teaching. I am teaching for active learning, but I myself teaching in the passive learning way, because whatever I am giving you, you are just digesting it. There are less scope for interaction. Even you are not interacting with the peers, with your peers. That's why it's the scheme of this traditional learning. Now, in context of PBL, if you see, the teacher to students interaction is less compared to the interaction between the group members or the learners are most. So that is the part of this PBL session. Now, what is the advantage of this group thing? That will be illustrated by this particular example, which was given by at least 30 years back by the this fellow, Petle. So suppose this is a problem, and this is the trivial part thing, and this is the impossible part thing. So trivial part mean in green color. So this is the intermediate part, might solve part, and this is the can't solve part. So there are 4 members, ABCD, or 4 learners. Obviously, each learner have some different capability. It's not that everybody will have same capability. So according to this is the graph for this trivial to impossible part. Now, interestingly, if you combine all these 4, obviously it's not like typical summation or product, because it's not a simple mathematics or arithmetic. Okay. You see, the solution obvious part is much greater compared to each of the individual. And the can't solve part is very much less compared to all these individual can't solve. So what are the features that you are extracting from this graph? Can anybody tell? What are the advantage of this group potential? What you are seeing from this picture, from this graph or schematic diagram? Anybody want to add any comment? So some learner is telling, right. Rajiv Das has given the right answer. It increases obviously, but you see, it's now like simple arithmetic. If you add these 4, maybe it cross like this. So actually, although it is the length is greater than all of this individual, but it's not like summation. Now, can you explain why it is not a sum of this all the 4 green bars? Can you explain why? Obviously, it's better than all of these individuals, but it's not summation. And same for this also. So can you explain why? What is the logical or physical thing is happening here? That's why the sum is not same like this. Can you try? Or will you try? Why? Anyway, I am giving the answer because time is less. The answer is obvious. Each of the group members has some common skills. So once you take A union B union C union D, you must need to subtract the common things. Like say for 2 set A union B, it's not A plus B. It's kind of A plus B minus A intersection B. It is a common part. For the same reason, it is not exact summation. Right. Good. So already Dr. Sushovan Chatterjee mentioned same parts are repeated this all the parts, right? It is an intersection part, common part. Yes. Nice. Now we will discuss on the principles behind the problem-based learning. Now I am directly going to the PBL part because my main topic is the PBL part. Now I am going to this. So it reactivates the old knowledge. It integrates the subject around people and their problems. People means the learners mainly. It emphasizes on learning for professional practice, skill-based kind of thing. It motivates students, obviously. It encourages active learning. It encourages thinking rather than learning by the rote. Topics are revisited at deeper because they need to solve the problem. It's not a typical end chapter problem. It encourages students to form and reject hypotheses while solving the problem. It develops thinking skill appropriate to clinical reasoning since the problem solving is there. It helps to develop generic skill like communication, group work, since it's a group work. So this thing will be much more clear once I will go to the PBL steps. Now, what are the steps in PBL? In short, first design and identify the problem. So design part, and this part is by the teachers or the tutor, facilitator. Then facts, what do I know? That is the part of the students. What do I need to know? And collaborate for a solution. So all the parts of the learners, not students. And define and defend your solution in front of this tutor or some external expert. So if you see, excluding the first part, second, third, fourth, fifth, second, third, and fourth is entirely by the students. And here in the fifth part, both the tutor and the students, all the learners will be involved. So these are the PBL steps in short. Now the thing is that in PBL, problem identification is the main thing. That will be, as I mentioned in the steps, this identify the problem, this one. So why it's important? Because this is the main task or main challenge for the tutor, the teacher. So that will be effective for the actual learning for the learners, and as well as that make over the curriculum, a part of your curriculum. In this respect, the tutor need to ensure it. That's why it's challenging. It's not that you just take some end chapter problem and it's done. No, you can do it. In that case, you will not be a good teacher. Rather, you will treat as a bad and lazy teacher. Now let's see. So obviously, it uses problems to initiate and motivate student learning. If you don't, you means the teacher I am getting, the instructor. You not design it such a way, the student will lose the attraction. They will not be motivated. And that is the bad problem, it is told. Now, what are the good problem? Obviously, the problem should be concerned with the real life situations. Here, I should word as much as possible, because in each cases, it may not be possible to connect the real life situations, particularly few things in the humanity subject. So it must not be an artificial problem that demotivate the learners. And obviously, it is relevant to the professional field. The problem should be open-ended in terms of the offering different. So do you know what is open-ended problem? Anybody? I think you should know it. Do you know what is open-ended problem? It's a very common word. Anybody? Please try. What is open-ended problem?
Sir, I think that open-ended problem is the problem in which we can sort or we can search other solution also for that problem.
Right, right. So
There
it's
are means there are the vast scenario is open to solving the open-ended problem.
right, right. So there can be multiple or there are multiple way to solve the answer. Okay. So some of your colleague is telling multiple correct answer. This is not exactly that. The answer may be same, but the way are different. There are multiple way to reach the correct to convert to the correct solution. Okay. So whatever you are telling multiple correct answer is not exactly the thing open-ended problem. The thing is that there are multiple way to solve the problem to reach or to convert to the solution. Okay. Fine. And so the problems would be open-ended. No, ET is telling like essay type questions, not exactly that. Not always for the essay type question. Yeah, for the essay type question, it may be open-ended question. Even for a short question, short questions, if you can design, it can be open-ended thing. Even for a multiple choice question, maybe the answer is the same, but you can solve it in 5 ways. So even this can be a open-ended problem. Got my point, na? Right. Hemlata madam already written it. What I want to tell. Yeah, nice. Fine. Thank you. So some controversial issues sometimes grow interest levels. Like, suppose you are designing a problem and intentionally you add, say, Maradona or Messi or Sachin to the problem. In some way you connect it. So in this case, these things will energize the students to get into the problem. And obviously exchange of views among the students. Now I will come to the characteristics of the good problem. So what are the main characteristics? The content objective of the course should be incorporated into the problem. Because ultimately you need to cover some curriculum, some content in your syllabus. So suppose in your syllabus, there are 5 chapters. Say each chapter having say 3 sub-chapters. So you have total 5 into 3, 15 sub-chapters. Now suppose in your semester, you have say 3 months. 3 months means say 12 week. Now your target is to cover these 15 sub-chapters by this 12 within this 12 week by using the PBL method. So maybe for one problem, you may take 7 days for the complete PBL process, all the steps and things. So maybe you are planning for the 12 or the 15 problems. Now you feel that 15 problem will be too much for this duration. So maybe you are thinking, say I will go for only say 12 problems. Because 12 with 12 problems. So among these 15 sub-chapters, if you want to cover the whole content, you need to design 12 points in such a way that once the learner will try to solve the problem by themselves, they automatically will learn the contents of all these 15 problems. They will learn everything. Maybe whatever they are learning, few things they will apply to their problem solving, few things they will not apply. So whatever they will apply, this is called the accepted hypothesis that I will discuss later, please wait. But whatever they will not apply, although these are the rejected hypothesis for this particular 12 problem, but still they learn it. That's why the content objective will be achieved. that is the challenge for a teacher to create such a good problem with the minimal number of, I would not say minimum, but rather I would say minimal number of, I think you know what the difference of minimal and minimum. Minimal number of problems so that the content objectives for the entire curriculum in this particular duration will be nicely achieved. That is the challenge of the tutor in context of PBL, problem designing. This is the right, because problem design and assessment. These are the only things for the tutors, and they need to spend time for it. Cooperation from all members of the group should be required in order to effectively solve the problem, obviously. So it's a joint venture. The teacher must ensure there will be no competition between the group members in a PBL session. The problem should also consider the interest and the needs of the students and their future careers. So obviously, otherwise, why they will learn? Now, how to find a good problem? Obviously, the first punchline is that it's difficult to find ready-made problem. Don't think you find some in Google or you go to some standard textbook and find some good end chapter problem and your job is done. In that case, your mission will be failed. Maybe you will see out of these 15 objectives, you will achieve only say 6 to 7 objectives, course objectives. So the first thing is that you must design your own problem. Second thing is that you need to evaluate the proficiency level of the students, and accordingly you need to design the question. And for the lower level, like school level, the problem can be kind of end chapter problem. But once you are teaching in the college or diploma and degree or postgraduate level, that must not be the end chapter problem. That is full and final. At more advanced level that I just mentioned, not all the information needed to solve the problem is given in the textbooks. And that's why this is the assessment part. You will assess the students once they will come to the solving, after solving the problem. So assessment part is very much important in context of PBL. Although in today's lecture, I will not cover on the assessment part. I will only cover the brief idea or the brief steps. Rather, I can say brief algorithms on implementing of the PBL with some case study. Now, how to design a good problem, you should know it. The problem should be related to the previously learned knowledge, so you need to connect it. It's a good idea to provide a challenging title for all the problem because it will probably engage the student are interested. I already mentioned in the 2-3 slides back. The problem should be designed in such a way that it requires the solution of a problem, not just a description of a situation. So concrete answer must be there for the problem. The problem be well defined because otherwise the students will lose too much time trying to find focus on the work. You know, time are limited. Unless it's not well defined, if some fuzzy things are there, it will take time and ultimately your goal will not be achieved within the stipulated period because you don't have infinite time for implementing it. And the problem developer, that is you, that is the tutor, must concentrate on the end product of the completion of the problem or the output of the problem. Now, I will discuss on some possible problem sources. Obviously, it's very much difficult to task a find problem. And obviously, it varies from the discipline to discipline. Like, say, for engineering, it may be easier to find a problem while you are teaching, say, English, humanities, mathematics, Sanskrit. For them, maybe it's very tough to find a concrete problem related to real life as well as that will cover all the content objective. In technical subject, professional practice is concerned with the solving problems, obvious, particularly in the engineering subject, like say civil, mechanical, computer science, etc. electrical. There are various sources like you need to use this press, newspapers, academic journal you can use to get the idea how to design or formulate the problem. And sometimes the past assignment that you have given to your students, that may help you to find the direction for designing the problem. Again, I am telling there is no thumb rules, no definitions. It's completely on the problem developer like you. So you have lots of freedom to become a good problem designer in context of PBL. Only then you will treat as a good teacher in context of this active learning. It's very much, sometimes it's easy to become a good teacher for passive learning. However, for the active learning, it's not so much easy. Even a bad teacher for passive learning may be a good teacher for the active learning. The similar thing also happens. We see a bad teacher may be a good researcher, or a bad researcher may be a good teacher. That generally we see in our academic life. Same thing also can happen here. So don't be upset that you are the bad teacher for the traditional teaching learning that you are going through it. You may be a good teacher once you are transforming to active learning from your traditional passive learning. So these are the trigger materials I already mentioned: books, journals, movies, videos, documentaries, blogs, podcast. I think some ICT based lectures were there. It's already, these kind of sources are already discussed. Now I will come to the 7 steps for problem designing part. That is very much important in context of PBL. But before starting this problem designing part for the PBL, if you have any questions, you may ask. Any questions? Or any comments?
No.
Fine. So I am going to the anyway during my talk or lecture, you may interrupt me, or you can ask your query if you have. Okay. Fine. So the first step for problem design is start with the learning outcomes, because that is your main thing, because you are under some board, some universities, some regulations. You are not completely free in context of designing the problem. So be careful on it. Ultimately, you need to achieve the learning outcomes, cover learning outcomes. So obviously, lecture-based delivery may not be related to problems exactly. That is the traditional learning. And the content are need to reviewed. It should be relevant for the time. It's not that it was in 30 years ago and still it's there. Maybe humanities part, using this you can survive. But for science and engineering, you can't survive unless you update the content and update also yourself. It's very much important to consider the process skills and the learning outcomes. That is obvious for any kind of things, teaching learning. We need to state, we means the teachers. The teacher need to state them explicitly, assess them, and assign a weight into them, shows that the students that they are regarded as important. That is the theme of this active learning or problem-based learning. Now I am coming to step 2, where the teacher will look for the possible problems that involve the subject learning outcomes. So as I mentioned, past assignments, exam questions, press articles, and case studies can all form a suitable basis. So that can be a basis for you, from where you get to, you need to start, and you need to prepare the problem. And it must be expanded, placed in the real world professional context. as much as possible. Again, I am telling, not possible for all cases, but because it vary from subject to subject and also discipline to discipline. Even for some cases, it may be from chapter to chapter. And it is to be developed to make sure they conform to the principles those you discuss. I means you, the teacher. And what learning issues will the students generate? That should be at the mind of the problem designer. And it is fixed also by in your curriculum. And this is the real test of the design. How you are generating learning issues among the learners once you throw the problems to the students. That will create the novelty, or that will find the novelty of your problem. At this stage, it's also useful to check that the scale and the scope of the problem is appropriate. And it's worth checking that the learning issues can be researched independently. The research can be done even by some other teachers or by the students or learners. And results of the individual research to solve the problem for the learners. Now in step 4, you need to think through the process. Although the steps are very much close to each other, just I have illustrated it according to the standard PBL thing. So these steps are not mine. It's a standard PBL process that I have collected from some textbooks. Thinking through the process. And this involves the planning how the problem will be introduced, scheduled, and supported. Because time is the matter, duration is the matter, how you will throw the problem by video, by audio, by text, or some other way. What kind of materials you will give, you will suggest them to use it. Will you give some answer hints? Will you give some textbook, book or paper hints? So all the things that you need to develop here. It's not that you just throw the problem and you see it an ideal. No. You need to complete your project. So accordingly, you need to think, maybe this kind of thing I should supply advance for the students in order to solve the problem, so that the time will not be wasted and they will move the right direction. That is the challenge. That is the real test of the problem designing for you as a good tutor in context of PBL. The first consideration is the student's experience. So accordingly, you need to solve the problem. It's not expected that while you are designing a problem for diploma and also designing a problem for the PhD scholars, both are not of the same level, although the topic are same. So you need to consider the student's experience. Sometimes you need to consider the prerequisite. If you feel you need to give some prerequisite things to the students, it's better you arrange a workshop among the students, give some lecture in traditional base, so that the students can reach up to a certain level, and only then you can use the PBL system. The next consideration is how the problem will be introduced and information provided. And it's up to you, that means the problem designer. It's worth identifying what deliverables students will produce, that is the possible outputs, and obviously it must be an open-ended problem. Otherwise your assessment will be a hectic thing. And finally, it is essential to list and consider that what assessment process will be used, that when will they be scheduled. So here I will not discuss on the assessment part. Maybe if I want to discuss the assessment part, it will take 1-2 lecture more, because assessment is a vital thing here. Step 5 of the problem designing is called resource review. So this part you must careful on it. You just randomly find some internet, some data or some information, you just copy it and use it in your problem, sometimes it may be a dangerous thing, because you need to check the authenticity of this document or the information. Generally, if you use some standard textbook, the maximum chances are that they are correct. These are correct. However, if you just copy some random things from internet, which is a third-party website, maybe it's good, not bad. You can use it, but parallelly you need to cross-check it whether it's correct or not, because some wrong informations are there. Computer and web search engines, sometimes books and journals, obviously. The virtual learning environment provides a useful repository for learning resources like, nowadays YouTube, Swayam, NPTEL, lots of Khan Academy, lots of channels are there. Sci-Fi Lab, some are free, some are paid. Like, the government portals are like free, Swayam or say NPTEL. Few contents are in YouTube are also free. Khan Academy contents are also free, and etc. etc. Tutors need to decide whether students will be left to learn purely by themselves or whether to include short workshops. That depend on you, depending on the credential of the learners, credential of the teaching assistant, sometimes if you need, and also experience of the learners matters here. And accordingly, you need to decide. In case if you feel you need to arrange a short workshop for this demo and to design or to present the problem, you can do it, no issue. And you need to, I think you already heard the lesson plan in traditional teaching learning. Have you ever heard the term lesson plan in traditional teaching learning? Anybody? I think you already use it. Similarly, in active learning, we call it tutor's guide. Yes. So in the tutor guide, you need to copy all these things. A tutor guide replaces the traditional lesson plans and scheme of work, like say a schedule for PBL case, identifying the milestone activities, deliverables from the students, sample questions to ask each meeting, to check the development, to track the development of the team, assessment criteria, all the things you need to write in the tutor's guidebook. So not only the problem design, parallelly you do the same things here. Particularly, for this deliverables, you need to predict it. Since it's open-ended problem, obviously there are 4 or 5 ways you can write there. However, if you have 10 teams with the 40 students, 10 into 4, maybe you can get 2 extra deliverables that you got and you assess them, it's correct. So what happened? Even the teacher can learn from the student sector. It's kind of both-centric learning. So you in your tutor's guide, you design possible 5 deliverables. But luckily you got 2 more from the students. So what you get? 5 plus 2, 7 way of deliverable things here. That is the beauty of this PBL. And if you are using the guided design, then copies of the handouts and feedback sheets you must need to use. So that I will discuss in the PBL steps. Just wait for it. Apart from that, in the last step is final review. So whatever you did from step 1 to 6, you need to review, and ultimately you need to finalize your problem. So these are the steps for problem designing in context of PBL. So I will give a simple example on this first. So you are getting a gaming interface. It's a beta type. Do you know what is beta type? Have you ever heard the beta version of any software? Stable version and beta version. Have you ever heard this term for any software or tools or any website? Okay. So now can you explain what is beta version or beta thing? Yeah, not necessarily the first version, it's the testing version. So somebody raise hand. Saudamini Behra. Are you asking something? Yes. Beta version might not be stable good, right? Yes, right. So this is the interface of the beta version game. So you can see the control keys, right, jump, reset, stop, and some animations are there. Some obstacles are there. You can control the speed here. So you can also use this exit here. This is a beta version. And the problem is like that. Yes. A multimedia company is developing developing a simple animation game for the children. The same game that I saw in the thing. The basics of the game involve a small animated figure that I saw in the last figure, moving backwards and forwards across the screen, like this. This one, moving backward, forward. These animations. The figure is controlled by the mouse by clicking various objects in the screen, like up, down, left arrow, jump. Unfortunately, the prototype or the beta type same is not fully working. Because it's a sketch version, not the stable version. Now the company will turn it to the stable version. That's why it called for some problem to the various agencies. So it has been provided for you on the college network for your folder. So they has given the scratch code of this problem. It's not that you will start from the beginning. That's why I told you now, once you are giving the problem, you need to decide which part you will provide them and which part they need to solve it. Like so for this problem, they are already providing the beta version to the learners, and the learner need to convert it from prototype to the stable type. That is the problem statement here. Now, what is the problem statement? The company has called in your team, say you are also team, so they also call to different teams throughout the globe. And their requirement are like this. They need to evaluate the interface of the prototype from HCA human computer interaction, design an improved version of the stable versions, to implement a number of suggestions that they are asking from each team, and each team need to present their results. And it's a competitive situation, and the best solution will be awarded. So, even this problem is a part of the problem-based learning. So the company already fixed the requirement. It's an open-ended problem. They already given the sketch version to each of the company or each of the college or each of the team. And ultimately, you need to go with the solutions and present the best will be awarded. So what are the functional requirement here in context of PBL? So once your team got the problem, what they will try to do it. An animated image of small character moves across the screen and black, controlled by the mouse. The image should change to simulate movement. The speed of the movement should be adjustable. Maybe in the beta version or the prototype is not like that, but it must be in the stable version that you need to do. Your team need to do. The image should automatically turn when it reaches to edge of the screen. The user should be able to control the following things like stop, start, reset, change, make, and blah, blah. And there should be an obstacle for the image to jump over. An unsuccessful attempt should stop the image, and while successful attempt should increase the score. That is the common theme of any game, animation game, video game. Okay. So from the prototype, you need to develop these kind of things. Now, obviously, you need to find the learning issues once you are solving. What criteria make a good interface? What are the company's documentation standards? What should the report contain? How does the prototype work? How do you trace any faults like debugging? So these are maybe a sample learning. These are not the complete learning issues, maybe some learning issues that the learner need to generate. And these learning issues must be matched with the content objective. Now I can also give some sample problem on the social work, like say your friend has become dangerously thin. You suspect that she is suffering from anorexia. You would like to help her, but you don't really know much about the disorder anorexia. What actually is anorexia? How can the patients be helped? What can friends, parents, and other relatives do to prevent POED? So this may be a problem statement. Now, can you find at least 1 to learning issues from the problem? If you are given this problem, what are the learning issues that comes to your mind while you solving this problem? Can you mention 1, 2 in the chat box or in the voice chat? Just go through the problem and try to generate few learning issues. Can you?
Pardon, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Please.
Yes, please. Are you asking something?
Sir, I'm asking about the question. Hello.
So from this
I
sample
think network
problem,
Hello.
yes,
Hello.
yes. From the sample problem, can you find out 1 to learning issues by your own after investigating the problem? The problem is already in your screen. Just go through the problem and try to find 1 to learning issue.
Sir, by says about
Yes, tell.
and
Yes, some of your friends already given. What are the symptoms is the information found from a source authentic? What are the basic terms involved? Are they oversimplified from the sources, right? Anyway, there may be lots of learning issues. I can share the slide with the coordinator. He will share with you. You can think later. Let's move to the next problem. So this is a sample problem for engineering. So solar collectors on the roofs of mountain cottages can no longer cover growing energy needs. Power generators operating on diesel had to be stopped because the pollution. The cottages need more energy for space heating, lighting, cooking, washing, etc. In short, for the comfort of visitors. You have the constant, you can't use the diesel generator. And solar collectors you can use, but you need to consume lots of power. So what may be the solution? So can you find 1 to learning issue there? Just go through the problem. ক্লাসে আছি এখন আপনি ওই মিটিং এ আসছেন 4টার সময় মিটিং এর পরে ওটা নিব ঠিক আছে মিটিং থেকে এখানে আসবেন সেমিনার হলো তারপরে ঠিক আছে ক্লাস করছেন somebody using the pen, please remove these scratches. Yes, Puspanjali madam is telling by making large solar panel. Yeah, that may be a possible way. Maybe you can accept or you can reject later after implementing it, but it may be another thing. But I will tell this is the secondary learning issue. Or the first learning issue must be energy consumption at each of the instrument, because you have the only option for hydraulic power or solar energy, and you need to run all these things: heating, lighting, comfort of heater, and so on. Yeah, inspection at regular basis is the part of the maintenance, not kind of solution. Anyway, so you can find later. So now I am going to the part steps of problem-based learning. So for the next half an hour, I have half an hour more. I need to finish by 4 p.m. So in the next half an hour, I will discuss on this thing. So there are 4 pages and total 14 steps in problem-based learning. Here I will discuss. Before that, you should know in the problem-based learning, you need to segregate the learners into small groups. The group contains 5 to 7, generally 4 to 7 members. Minimum 4 and maximum. Yes, right. The power rating. 4 to 7. And the members of the groups also access the resources used by each of the other. So it's a teamwork, not like say any competitive thing. So these are the various roles in PBL. First is called scribe. In each group, one scribe will be there, one chair will be there, group member. Obviously, they are also group member, one chair and scribe, and obviously you, the tutor. First, we will discuss role of chair. So at once you say you have 40 students in your class, and you have say you means the teacher created say 8 groups, each of the group having 5 members. So now these 5 members at each group will sit among themselves and they will find their chair. The captain is kind of captain or chair, and chair will lead the group through the steps. And to encourage participation of all members of the group, like a group leader, basically chair is a group leader here, to maintain good group dynamics among the members, to keep the group time to time update, to ensure the group adheres to the task in hand, to check the scribe accurately records the points raised in the discussions from 1 to 5. Now, what is the role of group member? Be careful, chair is also a group member. To follow the steps in sequence, to actively participate in the discussions, to listen actively to each other's contributions, to ask open questions, to independently research all the learning objectives questions, to share information with each other. I missed one thing, role of the scribe. Scribe is also a group member. After the group formation, the group can sit and find their scribe and chair. Chair means leader. I already mentioned the roles. Scribe will kind of reporter. So he will note everything so that once suddenly teacher can track, the teacher can see the notebook of the scribe where all will be documented or reported, time to time update. So scribe is kind of reporter. The same role generally we play for the secretary in the meeting. Generally, secretary writes the minutes of the meeting in any kind of standard meeting. The same role here in scribe. And in the non-normal committee, the role of the president or chairperson here is chair, more or less same, and all of the members. But be careful here, chair and scribe are also a group member. It's not that chair and scribe only do their role. Accordingly, they need to do the academic role also. So, scribe and chair are the additional role, while they are also the group member. So, the group members' duties are common to all the members. So, chair is like a leader, not like a boss. I think you know what is the difference of boss and leader. Yes, coordinator, right. Chair is coordinator. So role of the tutor or the teacher, to encourage the deep understanding, to ask open questions, to encourage participation by all the members of the group, obviously, to maintain the good group dynamics, to keep the group time to prevent sidetracking, to advise the group on what is not relevant. Suppose the tutor has given a problem to 10 groups or 8 groups. Say and the days are 7 days time. Say after 2 days, once you are visiting to the group, you are seeing the group is not going to the right direction. Whatever they are going from the report of the scribe, they may take 10 days. In that case, the teacher may give the hint to them. So you are not going to the right direction. These are not relevant in context of your problem solving. So you may think some other way. Obviously, the teacher will not give the answer, but at least he can mention what is relevant, what is irrelevant, whether they are sidetracking or not, whether they are progressing or not. That is the duty to check of the tutor. Otherwise, all the content objectives will not be achieved within the stipulated time. The tutor will act as a go-between for staff and students. This thing I should discuss with a particular example. Suppose in the PBL, the learner need to access the library or a computer laboratory. Obviously, the time is limited. So the team go to some team member go to library to access the library, and the librarian don't cooperate with him or her. He told you ask your guide and blah blah, come with some permission, email, bureaucratic kind of things. And the student lose the concentration and lose 2-3 days for this typical formal things. Then what happened? The main motivation will be deflected by this kind of rubbish things. So the teacher must ensure, after discussing with all these supporting staffs and all these things, logistic things, so that during the problem solving, student can easily or smoothly access anything. Those are available in the college premises or the university premises. That thing you need to do it. Otherwise, the student will not be motivated. They will get lost the motivation. And the tutor will evaluate the group performance by assessment. So there is a long assessment criteria. I am not discussing this. Maybe you can learn later. So assessment part is also very much important part. Even for the assessment part, the teacher can hire some external expert so that the assessment will be proper. And the assessment will be group based, not individual based. So PBL not a competitive thing, it's a group thing. So these are the detail of the tutorial process. If you see, there are 4 phases, each phase having some steps, like phase 1 having say 5 steps, phase 2 having 2 steps, as you see in the screen, phase 3 having 3 steps, and phase 4 having say 3 steps. So if you see, count total 13 or 14 steps, including 4 phases. So first step is called setting the scene. A scribe should be chosen to write down all the discussions. Scribe maybe from the students, and that is the part of the students. The teacher will only monitor it. A chair person should be appointed by the group to ensure. I already mentioned these things. The students should have known to each other among the group. And establishment of ground rule outline how each member will interact with one another, honor the preparatory process. That may be taken care by the tutor and the chair of each of the group member. Yes. Second thing, important roles of tutors. And so as I mentioned here, ground rules. So what are the ground rules here? Roles of tutor and students, punctuality and regular attendance. All steps of tutorial process must be followed. All students must research major learning issues, conduct individual self-directed learning, teach others what you have learned among the learners, conduct regular reflection and assessment, and complete the assigned tasks. And it is a group performance. No competition must be there among the group. That must be ensured by the chair, scribe, as well as the tutor. And step 2 for the first page is present the problem. That is the tutor's part. The tutor will present the problem. The tutor should fully conceptualize the problem by brainstorming possible linkages to course content. Otherwise, student will lose the motivation. And the students understanding the problem statement, students then have to build hypothesis and launch the investigation for this problem. And the teacher will assist students by developing questions about the issues. So what are the types of questions? Where did the problem occur? What physical resources surround the problem? Who has the opinion about the problem? What is the nature of the business agency? What are the values, beliefs, and socio-cultural expectation? What is the science of this problem? What are the skills and backgrounds of the people involved? So these questions must be written in the tutor's guidebook or the lesson plan of this tutor while designing the problem. And step 3 is called generating hypothesis. So once they learn, there are many facts that are not provided when the problem is first given. So they need to find the facts. An inquiry has to be undertaken to obtain the information needed to determine the problem by the team, not by the individual. Team chair will be segregated tasks to each of the members with devoted time. And it's important for students to identify what they do not know and what they know in order to solve the problem. The student need to generate ideas or hypotheses, that is to brainstorm or ideas, right? And it's useful to ask questions about what is interesting, puzzling, or important to find out in relation with the problem. Now, the last step for this is called testing hypothesis, first page. So whatever they now learn the possible things, they will examine whether this is helping in order to find the problem, yes or no, by brainstorming. They will compare these ideas against the problem outlines to see how they will match, which solutions are linked to this hypothesis or not. To write hypothesis on one side on the board and problems on the other, and they will connect by linking. In this step, the tutor can help students to discover what they know, explore the group current knowledge, and to lead them to discover what they need to know to understand to address the problem. Otherwise, it will be an infinite process. If the tutor feels from the scribe's book, the team is not going to the right direction, the teacher can intervene there. However, this is the optional in PBL. The tutor may or may not. And the step 5 is called students have to generate the learning issues. That is called the accepting hypothesis based on the analysis of the problem. They have to ask basic questions themselves. What do I need to know? What are the main points? How does it work? How does it relate? Blah, blah. What method, what approach we can use it? Is there any other method to solve it? How does it apply to these cases? These kind of questions they need to ask by themselves. in the group meeting and they need to find the answers. And the group must decide which issues everyone will tackle and which issues will be divided to the individuals. So once they find all the learning issues, so there are 5 members, they find 13 learning issues. Now the chair will fix with the consult with the group members. Say for each of the member 2 or 3 learning issues they need to find out within next 2 days. They can use library, other sources, labs, internet, everything. And the identified learning issues are ranked in order to priority. So this is the first one. Say rank 1 means most prior and so on. And some fundamental learning issues will be studied by all. There is a very basic things. Maybe first 3 issues are very basic. Everybody should need to go through it. Last 10, maybe for 5, 2, 2, 2, and 2, they will divide. So once after 2 days, everybody will come there learning and they will discuss so that the rest of the person also know the rest issues. So it's totally a collaborative thing. No way for competition among the group members. Competition will be there among the group, not inside the group members. The tutor would also learn which student is doing what, thus ensuring all are contributing. If the teacher found out of 5 only 2 students are contributing and 3 students are depending on this rest of these 2, then the teacher can intervene there because it's a group work. In phase 2, you need to go for individual learning while the learning issues are sorted. And during this step, students will individually seek out any available resources to obtain the information. Textbook, books, videos, other content, journals, newspaper, and etc. And after each group meeting, the next stage of the step study work is developed. And students are exposed to research and elaborate on new information. Obviously, this is part of this individual learning. And as they return to their small groups, they will bring this new knowledge and information to the group. Next step is group sharing without tutor. So once they learn, their group again meet. Everybody will present their findings. This meeting serves 2 purposes: to ensure that each member of the group has completed his own task or her own assignment, and to explain to the others what he or she has researched and learned, and explaining or teaching to articulate his learning. Kind of knowledge sharing here. And all the members are expected to assume responsibility for their own learning. Otherwise, it will be an infinite process. Now, in phase 3, the group resembles to report and self-study. The group returns to discuss what they have learned in their self-study. The students discuss and share what they have learned and applied their new knowledge for solving the given problem by the tutor. Any suggested changes in the hypothesis will reflect what was learned during self-study and open an interactive discussions of what was learned. That's why it's a group work. And it's very much important to have a critical look on the resources of the students have used. It must be authenticated. The chair and the tutor should ensure it. The students should also evaluate how current their resources are, how credible and how accurate are they. Is there any reason to suspect bias in the source? So it's better whatever you are getting, it's better you go with some standard textbook to verify it or cross-check it. The tutor should ask each student to describe what resources they actually used during self-study. The student work on the problem with the new information learned from their self-studies. In summary, they reassess the problem. And what happens there, say they found, say they learned say 15 issues. Out of that, 5 are used to solve the problem and 10 are not used. So these 5 are called the accepting hypothesis and the last 10 is called the rejecting hypothesis. Although each of the individual learned all these 15 learning issues, but fewer accepted hypotheses, fewer rated hypotheses. And in the last phase, step 1, when students have completed their problem, they should present and communicate their results with their peers and tutors. Some external expert may be there in order to evaluate. And following the completion of the presentation, students should reflect upon what has been learned. And obviously, overall concepts and principles. And this is very much important because it helps to convert procedural knowledge gained through the problem solving procedure during this duration. Step 2 for the last page is called self-reflection. It's very important for the tutorial group. Here you see each member of the group should be asked to describe what they thought of how they had reasoned through the problem. In this way, the assessment criteria will be much easier. Although I am not discussing the assessment criteria in detail, however, this step will help the external expert or the tutor to assess the team. And finally, students should be helped to reflect upon individual and group performance based on their following criteria, like say knowledge base, communication, assessment skills, reasoning process. So these are the points in the rubrics. If you see in the assessment parts, in the rubrics, this part will cover. So I think you know what is the rubrics. I will not explain it here. So I think that's all. So from this rubrics, ultimately, the assessment team along with the tutor can assess the group. And what is the performance? Is the group performance. That means all the individual of this group member will get the same. That is the PBL in brief. So thank you. So I almost at the end of this talk. I need to finish by 4 p.m. Still, I have 6 or 7 minutes for the discussions. If you have any questions, any comments, you can ask. Thank you. Thank you, madam, for your comment. I am sending my email address in the chat box. Anyways, this is just a advertisement from my side since I have taken a class, so I should take the opportunity. I am a faculty of computer science in NIT tier. I generally provide courses on Python programming, R programming, machine learning with Python, problem solving with Python, machine learning with R, these kind of courses. And discrete mathematics in computer science. So if you are interested, you can go through my homepage and you can apply for my STTP courses. Thank you. I have also a course on Scilab programming. I forget to mention Python, R, and Scilab. I generally give 3 open source tools in context of problem solving as well as machine learning. And I will share the material here. You can download from here. So I'm just sharing it. Please download. Yeah, I have already shared. Can you try for downloading it? Please try whether you are able to download or not. So this is the complete material what I cover in this lecture. There are 60 slides. Can you download it? Please try. Okay, fine. Okay, so thank you. If no more question, thank you. Bye.
ये तुम्हारा वहां से आता है ना बिना सर्विस करते हैं कब आता है पैसा तो वो सेमेस्टर में सेमेस्टर स्टार्ट हो गया अब ये क्या ओके लास्ट पेमेंट कब लास्ट सेकंड सेमेस्टर कब था जिस लास्ट सेमेस्टर जुलाई जुलाई हाँ सर जुलाई में हर साइकिल का उसमें एक साल एक्स्ट्रा 6 महीने के बाद प्रोडक्ट पेमेंट होगा ना यस सर उसके साथ इसका करूंगा और अगला करूंगा इसमें जो बचा हुआ चार्जेस था वो कब होगा तो सर एग्जाम खत्म करो नहीं खत्म करके हो गया तो ना क्या हुआ सब दिखे तुम वही हिसाब से कोई डेट या कोई मेंशन करो ओके within this one to बिहार का जो कमिश्नर एक मंथ मंथ द्वारा हर कब स्टार्ट होगा अभी कौन से चल रहा है हर चल रहा है हर कंप्लीट होगा खाली 15 से 28 फरवरी में कंप्लीट है ना फिर नेक्स्ट का मतलब नेक्स्ट फरवरी से स्टार्ट फरवरी ठीक है बट वहां से पैसा कब कर रहा है तो जब यहाँ से दे दिए और फरवरी के साथ तब पेमेंट ये एप्लीकेशन लिखो तो रिचार्ज लिखो विदिन फरवरी जो पेमेंट है आप ठीक है लास्ट तक या विदिन फरवरी लास्ट तक सेम रहेगा हाँ ये सब सेम रहेगा ओके बाकी जो ऐसी वन रहता है या ना उसको मेंशन करो तब तक देता हूँ सर इसके साथ
Hello, sir. Could we leave the meeting? Hello.
ठीक है जो भी है जैसे कंपनी का सर आप लोग को पैसा सबमिट सर पूरी हिसाब से तब तक आप सबमिट करते हैं ठीक है एप्लीकेशन लेना ओके तुम ले लो ठीक है वही हिसाब से लिख के लेना सर हम आप उनका ऐसा मतलब वन आंसर है तो ये प्लीज है ना ठीक है
आगे दिन खुले
वे एप्लीकेशन है बाकी ये लोग ऐसे ही बन जाएगा पेमेंट दिया छोड़ दिया पेमेंट भी सिर्फ एक किया है नहीं और अवेलेबल नहीं वो लोग अवेलेबल नहीं है सब स्टेशन में तो हम लोग को एक डिसीजन कुछ लेना पड़ेगा आइदर कंसीडर करेंगे 15 दिसंबर
जो फाइन पे
या अदरवाइज कब हो जाए
बेटर रहेगा 15 से ही करिए सर क्योंकि ऑलरेडी आपने ले मतलब पे कर दिया बच्चा लोग ने क्योंकि मेंशन भी है आपके लेटर
सर एक्चुअली 15 दिसंबर में ना हम लोग पेमेंट स्टार्ट किए थे 1 अक्टूबर से तो ऑलमोस्ट 2.5 महीने हो गया था ऐसा नहीं कि बहुत जल्दी हम लोग रिफंड देंगे जनवरी 31 से फिर फरवरी का कैसे
नेक्स्ट साइकिल कब से स्टार्ट होगा
फरवरी से
तो ठीक है, सबके लिए सेम रूल लगते हैं।
हाँ क्या 15 days का,
अब
but वहाँ पे
दिया है,
mention किया हुआ है।
दिया है तो।
अच्छा बता।
ठीक है, उनको बोल दीजिए तो जितना लेता है लेता है।
सर वही वो लोग आपसे बात कर
कुछ स्टूडेंट रिक्वेस्ट तो बहुत लोग डाल रहे हैं।
हाँ
आगे कुछ स्टूडेंट TFW या ऐसा कुछ है तो अगर आप सोच सकते हैं, वरना
या ट्यूबवेल वगैरह में तो अलग बात होता है। सब लोग सेम फॉलो कर रहे हैं।
मेंशन किया हुआ है 15
TFW होने से भी दे देना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये तो एज पर सिस्टम है, वहाँ पर तुम लोग को बेनिफिट मिल रहा है।
एक्चुअली समय होगा तो 21 डेज के बाद तुम लोग को एक्सपल्सन हो जाएगा, मतलब ऑलरेडी 21 डेज
नहीं उनको वार्निंग लेटर
इस बार लास्ट टाइम
बोलिए आप तो नहीं। एक मिनट रुको, एक मिनट रुको। ए सर जी, कोई स्टूडेंट लोग का इशू है कि वो लोग कोई बोलता है कि मुझे मेल पहुंचा नहीं है, मैं नोटिस देखा नहीं हूँ, बहाना है बेसिकली। हाँ, बाकी का पहुंच जाता है। ठीक है, उनका है कि हम लोग को थोड़ा रिलैक्स करो। ओके, ऑलरेडी कुछ स्टूडेंट लोग पेमेंट कर चुके हैं नेट फाइल। रिलैक्सेशन मतलब सर इसका फीस का
फाइन का रिलैक्स है ना?
या फाइन कर फाइन।
और सर वो ड्यूरेशन तो हम लोग इम्पोज कर रहे हैं 20 दिन या 22 दिन वाला।
क्या
मिनिमम स्टूडेंट को रहना है या पैसा देना है।
हाँ वो करेंगे। और फिर इसमें ओके यही था, उनको बुला दीजिए। ए मुकेश आ जाओ।
मैडम
देखो बहुत लोग ऑलरेडी दे चुके हैं। ओके, ऑलरेडी हमारे पास फाइन
लैपटॉप पेन कल
ये सब
हेलो सर,
हॉप पेन को कैसे
पता भी नहीं था कि कितना फाइन कब देना है, 4 तारीख को ऐसा पता भी नहीं था कि ये फाइन
पहले का और किसका है इशू?
17 को
कौन सा 17? दिसंबर 17। नहीं ऑलरेडी फाइन इम्पोज थे।
इम्पोज नहीं था।
जो पेमेंट
कल का बना दिया था माइनस पूरा रिजल्ट बना दिया क्या है सिर्फ मेनू पे ही नहीं बनाया था। हेलो
हाँ ये मैंने जाना था तो जरा ठीक है
हाँ प्रोजेक्ट इंस्टॉलेशन के लिए एक बिल मेरे को दे दो, और वो डोर कर्टेन्स का है ना, उसका भी एक बिल दे दो मेरे को। तो
ज्यादा में से आता होगा
हाँ ठीक है। हाँ
सर जनरल में जाता है कि नहीं? जनरल में जाता है तुम्हारा स्टूडेंट का कुछ भी मेल तुम्हारा वहाँ पे जाता है।
रिविजन करना क्या हुआ करके क्या
उसके बाद सब बोला जैसे वेरिफिकेशन किया उस दिन चला गया, उसके बाद बोले फिर एग्जीक्यूट नहीं चला।
उधर ब्लॉक करके रखा है क्या?
बाकी सुनो सुनो बाकी ये लॉजिकल नहीं है तुम्हारा। बाकी में डिग्री स्टूडेंट डिप्लोमा स्टूडेंट है, तुम डिग्री का हो ना। डिग्री स्टूडेंट ने सपोज मैंने कुछ मेल भेजा वो तुम्हारे पास गया होगा, तो हॉस्टल कॉमेडी भेजेगा तो कैसे नहीं जाएगा? ट्रैफिक तो सेम है ना।
एचएमसी का मेल नहीं जाता
ऐसा नहीं हो सकता। मेरे
सर को मैंने नेट खोल के
नहीं आपको नहीं आपको मेल आया नहीं है वो अलग बात है।
हाँ उसके में तो
लेकिन आप अकेले नहीं रहते हैं ना, आपके साथ बच्चे हैं, आपके फ्रेंड्स थे, सबको मालूम था इन्फॉर्मेशन।
एग्जैक्टली बैड
हाँ
वेरी बैड। बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट के साथ रहते हो तो
सारे फ्रेंड्स को पता है,
तुमको पता है कि 4 महीने के बाद उसकी फीस सबमिट करना पड़ता है, ये भी पता है। ऐसा नहीं है कि तुम कुछ नहीं है।
नॉट ओनली मेल, वहाँ पे उनको कुछ नोटिफिकेशन देता है ना।
You have to submit your fees, that is your concern, not our concern.
नहीं ये साइकिल कब स्टार्ट हुआ था?
कब से है? अक्टूबर से स्टार्ट।
हाँ हाँ
स्टार्ट
अक्टूबर में है ना, अक्टूबर में स्टार्ट हुआ था। अभी दूसरा साइकिल स्टार्ट होगा फरवरी में। आप लोग
साइकिल का भी सर एक्चुअल में एग्जैक्ट पता नहीं चलता, क्योंकि सर वहाँ पे लिखा था सेमेस्टर वाइज सर, अभी तो सेमेस्टर वाइज नहीं होता, कभी आ जाता है दिसंबर में सर, पहले आ जाता
नहीं 4 महीने बाद।
4 महीने
सर ऐसा नहीं था, उसमें लिखा कि 4 महीना, उसमें लिखा था सेमेस्टर वाइज।
पिछला साल लेकर के थोड़ा सा सर पिछले साल नहीं हो रहा है, एक साल तो हो गया, तो सिस्टम को पता होना चाहिए। अक्टूबर से स्टार्ट हुआ तो अक्टूबर के बाद 4 महीने बाद फिर नोटिफिकेशन आया, फिर 4 महीने बाद नोटिफिकेशन।
एक साल में तो होएगा तो पता होना।
एक साल में तो
पहली बार ऐसा लगता है।
सर लेकिन ये लोग ना रिसिप्ट हम लोग को 2 जनवरी को सबमिट नहीं किया है, तो रिसिप्ट हम लोग को कल ही लाके सबमिट कर रहे हैं। अगर ये लोग 2 जनवरी को रिसिप्ट सबमिट कर देते हैं, अगर मान लेते हैं कि हम लोग 4 तारीख को इशू किए हैं, ऐसा होता है कि लोग 2 को सबमिट कर दें तो एक्सेप्ट कर लेते हैं। ये लोग 4 जनवरी ये लोग रिसिप्ट सबमिट कर रहे हैं, कल लाके। जब हम लोग 6 बार 7 बार मेल डाल देते हैं कि आप
हो गया पेमेंट आप हाथ में रख रहे हो,
ठीक है,
दे देना चाहिए।
हम लोग जब 6 बार जब तक कॉल नहीं करते हैं कि आप रिसिप्ट सबमिट करो तो फिर हम रिसिप्ट नहीं सबमिट।
अच्छा
2
ठीक है,
जनवरी का
मैं
एक जन हमको पेमेंट नहीं किया है, सबमिट किया है 25 नवंबर का आ जाएगा सबमिट।
अच्छा,
बोला सर 25 नवंबर को
इतना दिन कहाँ?
और क्योंकि हम लोग 6 बार पेमेंट कर चुके हैं, उसका नाम लेके सर नाम लेके हम लोग 6 बार पेमेंट कर चुके हैं कि पेमेंट नहीं हुआ, पेमेंट नहीं हुआ, और वो आ जाके सबमिट कर देगा 25 नवंबर को।
ठीक है, आपको जाइए बता दिया जाएगा। ठीक है, वो मैकेनिकल तो बोलिए क्या करना है?
4 जनवरी से स्टार्ट कीजिए।
हाँ 4 जनवरी से स्टार्ट।
तो 7-8 खर्चा पैसा दे दिया ना, उनको नेक्स्ट पेज में
एडजस्ट कर दीजिए।
हाँ नेक्स्ट
और
साइकिल
वो 7-8 खर्चे को भी कर दीजिए।
हाँ
सर माइनस वाला।
हाँ श्योर हाँ
Okay, so as notification is implemented from this quarter,
yes
so all the fines are collected from this quarter.
या तो सिंगल एजेंडा मीटिंग ही है और फाइन के लेके।
मैं एक चीज बोलना चाह रहा था, ये जो भी हम लोग नोटिफिकेशन मेल पे भेजते हैं, क्या उसको प्रिंट आउट करके दोस्तों?
हाँ वो तो नोटिस बोर्ड परचेज
है, तो वो होने से और बढ़िया
है
सर लगाते हैं,
मतलब वहाँ नोटिस बोर्ड नहीं है बट वो लगाता है।
ठीक है।
नहीं ये नोटिस बोर्ड के लिए सर, फॉर एग्जांपल अभी जिम में नहीं होने तो हमारे पास
लोकल परचेज कर सकते
इंटरेस्ट मनी था, और वार्डन के पास 5000 इंटरेस्ट मनी था। नहीं
हाँ उसमें
एक दो ये वार्डन लोग हैं ना, इंटरेस्ट मनी से तकने तो खत्म होगा लोकल मार्केट से। इसके लिए हम लोग
इन्वेस्टमेंट का क्या वो वहाँ पे सेटलमेंट हुआ है ना?
हो गया हाँ
हो गया।
कितना कॉस्ट पड़ेगा?
मैडम नोटिस बोर्ड का
थोड़ी बहुत मैं डिपार्टमेंट के लिए खरीदा था 2x3 999।
1000
इसलिए तो बड़ा चाहिए।
आपको ग्लास कवर का जरूरत है सर, ग्लास से लाल करके
नहीं चाहिए, वो तोड़ देगा।
जरूरत नहीं है तो
स्टूडेंट के लिए कुछ भी ये नहीं है, वो कुछ भी कर सकते
हाँ वो नॉर्मल वाला हम लोग करीब करीब 2-3 मॉडल्स है ना, इम्प्रूवमेंट से कर
सिक्योरिटी गार्ड के पास जो वाल है उसके बगल में जो वाल है
या पीछे वाला भी
हम लोग को वारल लोग को मिलता है क्या?
हम लोग खरीद कर सकते हैं।
भाई टीवी का जो है ना वो टाटा प्ले में सबसे बड़ा फोन आता है टाटा प्ले से सर ये चैनल लीजिए वो चैनल लीजिए अच्छा होगा। अरे भाई मेरा है वो नहीं
আমাকে তো ফোনে লাগে স্টুডেন্টদের নাম্বার দিই এদেরকে জিজ্ঞেস করে এনে নেবে
मुझे एक दिन रात को कॉल किया था मैंने नीचे बोला कि नीचे सर
এই কোন একটা মানে ছুটির দিনে মানে
सर मैच देखते बच्चे का पूरी क्रिकेट में जाते हैं इंडिया सेमीफाइनल में फाइनल ठीक है एक ने तो ले आइए देख के
हाँ
नहीं अगर वो ऑलरेडी अगर प्रैक्टिस में है तो आ गया तो क्या चल रहा है
प्रॉब्लम क्या है ना, हम लोग 1-2 ऑर्डर करने तो वहां से नहीं आएगा, जब से नहीं आएगा 1-2 पीस के लिए 900 रुपीज और 1000 रुपीज में है ना, उनको शिपिंग का ज्यादा कास्ट होगा।
राइट
और फिर अगर आप मंगाएंगे तो तो 3 ही ना आएगा सर, एक हमारे हॉस्टल के लिए एक आपका और एक
3 बस है।
3 आने से हो जाएगा।
হ্যাঁ বলছি ওই হোস্টেলে যে 3টে নোটিশ ওটা কি স্ট্যাটাসে আছে স্যার আপনি নোটিশ করে এখনো আছে যে মানে ভেন্ডারের ডিরেকশন কোনো ইনফরমেশন আছে না ঠিক আছে আমার জিজি বল
কি বললো সতীশ
मैंने डिपार्टमेंट के लिए दिया था ठीक है
ওই কোনো ইয়ে নেই জাস্ট ইয়ে গেছে অর্ডার গেছে অর্ডার
অর্ডার ইস্যুড আচ্ছা
इशू हो गया
तो वेट करना है हम।
अच्छा वेट करना सर कल का भी तो एक मैनुअल बनेगा कल वाला का भी बनेगा कल वाला जो इसका
मेनू का
एक आर फाइल है ठीक है माइनस में लिखते हैं वो
स्टूडेंट का जो मिनिमम सर वो 20
हां ये कितना दिन का है
वो भी बोल रहा था
कितना दिन में सर अच्छा
230 अच्छा है मेरे हिसाब से 20 डेज
3 डेज या 3 weeks रख
3 weeks
3 weeks 3 days रख दीजिए 3 weeks बेटर और सर गाला
इससे बेटर था कि सबको एक महीना में इतना देना ही
नहीं
महीने का लास्ट महीना क्या
टेंडर में है ना फर्स्ट वीक ऑफ एवरी मंथ
एटलीस्ट तो सब 25 डेज करना चाहिए
25 डेज
नहीं इसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम होगा सेमेस्टर तो 4 महीने होता है 6 महीने का जो होगा 6 মাসের টাকা অসুবিধা হবে ওদের 2 মাস ধরে যারা 30 দিন থাকছে 30 দিনের পয়সা দেবি এবার যারা থাকছে না তাহলে তারা
21 दिन देना
এবার বাস চাকরি মাসে উঠছে প্রবলেম নেই
25 दिन করলে তো অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স করতে হবে
बोला कि फुल अटेंडेंस एट फुल अटेंडेंस क्लास प्लस सब बढ़िया से चल
नहीं सेमेस्टर एक्चुअली 4 महीने का होता है ना
हां पहले 21 कीजिए बाद में
4 महीना आप बोल रहे हैं ना, लेकिन
बाद में कर सकते हैं
कुछ आ रहे हैं कितनी 2 महीना छुट्टी ऐसा आ रहे नहीं आ रहे हैं, तो नहीं आने तो हमको ऐसा नहीं बोलना है।
नहीं अभी तक तो कुछ ऐसा पता नहीं वैकेशन
के लिए नहीं आने तो है ना, हम लोग उसका इसके नहीं सोचना है।
वैकेशन तो आ नहीं रहा है तो
अभी इसके लिए अनाउंस कर ले तो हम लोग सोच सकते हैं। हाँ
वैकेशन तो है नहीं, लेकिन स्टूडेंट को गैप मिलता है क्या जुलाई में
एग्जाम के बाद
मिलता है दिसंबर में 15 दिन या ऐसा कुछ मिलता है
15 दिन भी नहीं है सर वो 20 में खत्म होता है
ये 15
दिन
जुलाई में मिलता है
सर ये
हाँ, अरे यार सब लोग हो जाते हैं।
नेक्स्ट बंगाल में लीव का कल्चर है। बंगाल में स्टूडेंट लोग लीव लेते हैं। जब आप दिल्ली जाइए वहाँ पे नहीं लेते,
ले
बाहर
उन लोग को जॉब भी चाहिए बंगाल में।
हमारे यूनिवर्सिटी में टीचर बोलते थे ये वेस्ट बंगाल में आप लोग हर हफ्ता घर चले जाते हो, वहाँ पे दूसरे जगह पे देखो दूसरे स्टेट में वो स्टूडेंट्स महीने भर पढ़े रहते, घर ही नहीं जाते।
Participant, please. Participant, please. Afternoon session is over. Afternoon session is over.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Afternoon session is over.
Sir,
You can leave the session. Afternoon session is over. You can leave the session. Please.
sir, is the attendance link active? Attendance link for session 2 of 8.
Sir, attendance.
Attendance link.
फॉर्मूला होता है ना, एलिजिबल कि नॉट एलिजिबल, उस टाइम नॉट एलिजिबल पे हाथ में लगाते हैं, सब एलिजिबल, वही ग्राउंड रहता है वो एलिजिबल कि नॉट एलिजिबल है, हम लोग करते हैं ना डिप्लोमा में। डिप्लोमा तो सबसे
नॉट एलिजिबल हो जाना चाहिए तब पता चलेगा है ही नहीं स्टूडेंट।
Sir, anything related to the attendance exam?
Attendance link if it is not active. Sorry, let me speak. If the attendance link is not active, it will be active within half an hour.
Okay, sir.
बच्चे लोग
Okay, sir. Okay.
Please.
तो ये मॉडल क्वेश्चन एकदम से सही कहाँ होता है ऐसा? बड़ा क्वेश्चन चाहिए।
क्वेश्चन हमारे एग्जाम तक ही है, जो
ये तो दिमाग खराब है। नहीं
उनका इंटेंशन क्या है? इंग्लिश तो कह रहे हैं, वो लोग पहले जाएंगे। स्टूडेंट लोग 10 मिनट 15 मिनट बाद में पहले नहीं 10 मिनट बाद में आता है। 10 मिनट तक कहाँ रहता है ना, बाहर में रहता है, मोबाइल देखता रहता है, शायद कहीं पे आंसर की मिल जाएगा।
आंसर के लिए चाहिए कुछ,
इसलिए सब करते मोबाइल देखते नहीं आता चल जाता है, चलो तो नहीं मिलेगा चलो।
Nitesh Mondal ji, just program is over. You can leave the session. Huh?
वहाँ स्ट्रिक्टनेस नहीं, तो एचएमसी वाला फाइन को ये लोग स्ट्रिक्टनेस, ये लोग अभी आई अमकाली मैम, हम लोग स्टूडेंट हम लोग फाइन कैसे देखते हैं अभी वही है, पता नहीं
नहीं हम देखो
ओ मेरी की नहीं मेरी बात नहीं पता नहीं वही स्टूडेंट फाइन कैसे दे,
ज्यादा है
फाइन ज्यादा है
तो वही तो ज्यादा रखेंगे ताकि कोई फाइन ना मतलब मत टाइम पे देने के लिए
मेरिट में नेक्स्ट डेट होता है, नेक्स्ट डेट होता है, वन रहता है, ऐसा कुछ है, 1000
हमारे वहाँ पे तो ऑन टाइम होता है, कभी मैंने देखा नहीं किसी का फाइन होते हुए, और लीव भी नहीं लेते कोई, हमारा तो 90 एंड अबव होना चाहिए अटेंडेंस। बाप रे इतना
स्कूल में 90% था, बहुत कम डब्ल्यू खाया मेरे बच्चे खा पाया।
Thank you.